Hi everybody, thank you for this webinar. We are going to reprise the webinar that we did last week talking about Zoom Rooms, which is a pretty fun feature of Zoom. It allows us to create breakout rooms if we have students and we want to give them time that they can meet in small groups and then reconvene as a class again, then that's the option, that's the feature that we're going to be exploring today. Now I have, if you can see my screen, and I see Brandy logged in already. I'm trying to minimize this and it keeps on going to full screen. Hang on a second. So this is going to get a little bit complicated because we're in GoToWebinar right now, but I'm also running Zoom on the side, and you can feel free to join in on GoToWebinar and just watch what's going on, or you can join us on Zoom as well. And the link is in the chat, and I'm also going to keep it up here. I created a bit.ly for it. A bit.ly is something that shortens the URL because the URL was a long, like 25 alphanumeric code. So bit.ly, bit.ly/TCS Zoom Room is the link to if you'd like to join the Zoom. And this will be hands-on so we can participate and play around with the settings. You can feel free to share your video if you want, but it's not really necessary and you don't really need to join the Zoom, but I think it'll be fun. So with that, does anybody need a basic overview of Zoom? Has anybody, you can put questions in the chat or the questions box in GoToWebinar. And that's our instructional technologist will be curating those, and he'll interrupt me if we need to take a break and address some of those things. So if anybody needs an overview on Zoom, now for those of you who are on the Zoom site, I hope you're on GoToWebinar as well so you can hear me. Last time we had a faux pas that I joined the Zoom call, but then the people on GoToWebinar weren't able to hear me. And so I'm not going to do that this time. I'm not going to join the audio, or if I do, it'll be through phone and not computer so that I don't compromise that. You can share your video, your webcam. You can choose, if you have multiple webcams, you can choose one of those. You can also modify video settings, which will be to enable widescreen or original ratio, enable HD, touch up your appearance if you want, and then you have other options as well. If you want those unique backgrounds, you choose virtual background, and then you can have something fun behind you if you'd like. Right there, Erica. Erica's at the lake. All right. So let's play around with breakout rooms, and I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody on Zoom. I'm going to click on this breakout room. We already have a good roster of students right here. When I click on breakout rooms, these are the options that I have. I have 14 people right now. And so how many rooms do I want? 15, so maybe 3 rooms with 5 people each. And I can sort them automatically. And so I'll go ahead and create the rooms. So I have breakout room number 1, and I can rename that to the alpha room. And breakout room number 2, if I wanted to rename that, I could call that Omega room. Breakout room number 3, I could call that, I don't know, Zeta room, or whichever you want. So I know I have 3 rooms, and I can move people around from one room to another. Don, I'll go ahead and move you to the Omega room, and maybe Stephen, I'll move you to the Zeta room. Brandy, I'll move you up to the Alpha room. And what does exchange mean? Let's see. Oh, that's interesting. So Brandy, I can exchange you, kind of like sports teams doing trading. I'm going to exchange Brandy for Don, and I'm picking on you guys because you're on camera. I can see you. All right, so you can move people around. You can see how many people are there. Do I want to recreate the rooms? Probably not. Options, the various options. Do you want to move all the participants into breakout rooms automatically, which is what I selected when I started it. I can uncheck that. Allow them to remain in the main session or return to the main session at any time. The main session is what we're seeing right here. The whole class is together. I'm going to call you guys classes and students. Do I want the breakout rooms to automatically close after a few minutes? Sure, let's put that to 4 minutes. Notify me when the time's up. Have a countdown after closing the breakout room, and that's defaulted for 60 seconds. So I'll go ahead and open up all the rooms. All right, so now people are moving to your rooms. I can broadcast the message to everybody. What should my message be? I hope you're all doing well. And so I'll broadcast that, and then in the individual rooms, everybody can access that. Let's see, before I go to that. So right now I'm sitting in the main room, so is Nini. And so what I want to do is maybe I'll join the alpha room, and I can peek in. It's gonna let me know, okay, I'm joining the room now in my other window. Here's the room. I have speaker view and gallery view. I can see the other breakout rooms. Since I'm the instructor, then I can see those breakout rooms. Everybody else wouldn't. And you guys should be able to share your screens, I believe. If not, let me go to screen share. Let's see, enter full screen. Enable remote control. I believe, I don't, Eric, are you able to share your screen at all? Let's see. Michael Barr has joined, but he's not part of a group, so he is unassigned. You guys can practice sharing screens. Take turns sharing screens. Let's see. I can also advanced screen sharing, so I can say multiple participants can share screens if I want. By default, it looks like all participants are able to. So let me check that. Michael Barr, I'm going to assign you to Zeta Room. All right, and all the breakout rooms are going to close in 50 seconds. All right, so I can see that. So let me see the participants. Now I'm in a breakout room. Let me return to the main session. I'm not going to leave the meeting because that would be horrible. So now I get a message saying returning to main session, and it puts me out here. Let's see, do we have questions? Can you give room participants a warning signal before the breakouts end and they are forced to return to the main webinar? I believe that how it works is that the session ends, but then you get a message saying this room's going to close in 60 seconds, and you can customize that to be something else. So right now they're going to close in about 15 seconds, so people are hopping back. Sharon, you have your hand raised. Sharon Pappas, would you like to be unmuted? Do you have a question? Go ahead and put the hand down. So Michael Barr, when you put me in the breakout room, I got a blue circle, not in the room. All right, so I think what we might want to do is people have joined since I initially created those rooms. And so maybe you want to make sure everybody is joined, and then I'll recreate the breakout rooms. And you can open all the rooms again. So everybody should be assigned to a room at this point. Now, breakout rooms are different than a waiting room. A waiting room is, that's a security measure. As my kids who are in K-12, they meet on Zoom, and the teacher has to manually allow them to enter into the meeting, and that's just to make sure that the roster is accounted for and that they don't have anybody else, any more interesting characters who aren't students. Erica, I'm going to go ahead and put you in the waiting room so we can see what that looks like. Now I have a list of participants. I have 18 participants in my meeting, and I can see that somebody's waiting to be admitted. Now I'm not going to see that if my participants window is closed, so it might be a good idea as a professor if you are expecting that people are going to be filtering in so that you can see the waiting room. And I'm going to go ahead and admit Erica again. Another question is there a link to this Zoom room? The link is right up here at the top of the screen. It's a bit.ly, a shortened link, so I'll put that in the chat, which I guess that put that in the chat a minute ago already. Yeah, a couple people were asking that. And I don't have a password set up for the Zoom, but that's an option that you can have. So the 2 security measures so that you don't get interlopers in your meeting are create that, what is it called, waiting room, and put in a password on your account. It could be like a 4-digit PIN, or it could be as complicated as you want. It could be alphanumeric. And so those are the security measures so that we make sure that we are who we are. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these rooms so that we can start over and give people just a moment. All right, so Michael Barr is going out and coming in. Eric, you're asking how do we enter a code? Is that when you're setting up a meeting? Are you asking? Let me see. When you're setting up a meeting, so this is the desktop app right here. I'm going to go back to the home, and I'm going to schedule a Zoom meeting, and that could be just a random meeting. If this is a meeting that you're going to be using a lot in your class, or a department meeting, for example, something that will be recurring, then you can select recurring meeting instead of a date and a time and a duration. And here I can put a password. By default, it has a password and it's random. I'm going to put that as, whatever. It can be long. What is that message? Alphanumeric will generally be where users who dial in for phone or room systems. So yeah, I can just put in a number. Some of the other settings that you might be interested in are who should share their video, the host, do participants, are they allowed to share the video? Probably, but it's up to you. Do you want video to not be on? Don't like your background there. Audio, do you want them to have telephone or computer options, or only computer or only telephone? Now, if you're meeting during a prime time, which this is actually prime time, 1 to 2 Eastern time, 10 to 11 Pacific time, at the top of the hour, this is a pretty good time. So we're kind of rolling the dice with this one. Might consider having a telephone dial in, because then we don't, the audio isn't over the internet, it's over the telephone system, and so people won't get kicked out. Other options, I talked about the waiting room. You can enable that. For me, it's not a default check, so I would go ahead and check that, and then nobody will enter the meeting until I manually tell them, yes, you can enter, kind of like an exclusive nightclub or something. Do you want the meeting to be able to start before you log in? Do you want students, or if it's a department meeting, other faculty, anybody to kick off the meeting and start talking, or not? Authenticated users can join in, meaning they have to be signed in to Zoom and have accounts. That's up to you. I guess that would be an additional security measure as well. And do you want to record the meeting? And then I'd go ahead and schedule that. And when I schedule it, it'll show up in my meetings. Now let me look. This is the Windows 10 app. Let me just hang on a second. I'm going to hop over to Zoom to log into zoom.us. I'm going to sign on through single sign-on. I'm going to put TCS Ed System as the domain, and it'll give me my login page. All right, so I have upcoming meetings right here. This is the meeting that we're in right now. Previous meetings, I have my personal meetings. I don't have any other meetings scheduled. I have a personal meeting room, meeting templates. You have a lot of settings over here as well. And I want to click on, so when you click on settings in the meetings tab in advanced meeting, you have If you don't see the option to have breakout rooms, which is what we're talking about in this webinar, then you'll just want to make sure that this is checked right there. And I'll show you once again how to get to that on Zoom, the Zoom settings page. I'm clicking on settings, making sure that I'm in meetings, and then clicking on in meeting advanced, which just scrolls me down the page. It's still the same page, but it just scrolls me down. And I want to allow the breakout rooms. And you can check this box as well. Let me pull that up. So now we have, let's see how many people we have, 17. So let's create those meetings again. All right, so I click on breakout rooms right here. My options are how many rooms do I want? And for 16 participants, maybe a clean 4. Last time we did automatically and it just sorted people into the rooms. This time let's tinker with the manual and I'll create the rooms. All right, so now I have 4 breakout rooms and I need to assign. So I'll assign randomly, maybe by alphabet or true random. All right, and for those who weren't on initially, some of the options are, now I have everybody assigned. This could be manual or automatic, and if I want to change people around, I can either move somebody to a different room or I can exchange them, like trading cards or trading sports people. I can change 2 people, exchange Gail for Brandy in this room, Christian for Chris, or maybe you should have a room with all the Chris's and Charles and Christy, Christians and Christas. All right, so and the other options, you can move the participants into the breakout rooms automatically. If I didn't have that selected, let's try that. Then I'm going to open the rooms, and nobody is going to be in the room. So this is something that I actually haven't seen from my end, but you're going to have to manually enter the room. So it looks like people are figuring it out. The rooms are getting populated. I assume, so Thad, you went into a room. How does that interface look? Is there an option? What does the option to enter the room look like?
It just it gave me an indicator, a box saying that I've been invited to join a room, and then it asked me if I would like to join, and so I pushed join, and then it just took me into the standard breakout room look.
All right, and it looks like I can't force people to go into the room since I have that. I had that feature disabled so that you have to actually go into the room. I can't force anybody because I'm trying to force Ivy over here, but she remains in the main breakout room. And so you are seeing the view as a student. As the professor, I can go in and join the room. It's going to say joining breakout rooms in a moment. All right, there we are. And so multiple participants can share simultaneously. If you want to practice in your room sharing screens, you can do that. I'm going to leave the breakout room and hop over to another one. One thing I wish that I could just join, I could jump to one breakout room, from one to another. But it looks like I have to go back out to the main session. So I get a returning to main session screen here, load up breakout rooms, and then I can join this one. So I can keep tabs. I'll allow you guys to share your screens simultaneously so you can practice if you'd like, sharing your computer screen with people. I assume that would there be an option right here? Let me see if I do that. That probably changes it for everybody in the breakout rooms. I would assume. One other thing I wanted to mention is about screen recording. There are 2 options to record your session. One option is to record it onto the computer, onto the hard drive of the computer, and the other one is to record it onto the cloud. And I believe if you record it to the cloud, it records the main session. if I were to jump to breakout rooms, it continues to record the main session and it doesn't record the breakout room. If I record it onto the computer, then it records the main session until I jump into another breakout room. When I join that breakout room, then it records that breakout room. So the recording follows me wherever I go. As opposed to the cloud, you can't record the breakout rooms, but you can enable students to record the breakout room sessions as well. So you could designate any one student from the room or have multiple students record those sessions as well and then get those recordings and consolidate them. So I'm going to look into the questions. You guys can continue sharing your screens and looking at the features of your breakout rooms. Does it automatically transcribe the recording is a question. I don't know. Thad, do you mind looking that up in the background and getting that to us? I know if you upload it to YouTube, it will transcribe. If you upload to Studio in Canvas, then you can get captions through those platforms. One question is, can I schedule all 3 of my classes separately? If I understand what you're asking, then you're teaching 3 classes and you want a unique Zoom URL for each class, and that would be possible. What I would do is say, class number 1, that could be, it could be OLC 500, and then I'll just say that's recurring, and then when I schedule it, it'll have a meeting, it'll generate a unique meeting ID. So I'd click schedule, and then I would schedule a different one, and I would say OLC 535, for example, and then schedule that meeting so that you'd have recurring meetings for 3 different classes. Otherwise, you also have a meeting ID, which is a personal meeting, and that never changes. The link to that never changes. And GoToWebinar has the same feature. You have a personal meeting, but then you can have unique meetings for each thing. And so that's how I do. If you're teaching 3 classes, just create 3 recurring meetings and call the meeting the name of the class or whatever you want, and then it'll show up in the meetings. Now I don't have a lot of Zoom. I'm still kind of tethered to GoTo for whatever reason, but my Zoom meetings would be listed here. Just monitoring some of the other questions. Let's see, Eric, I think I answered the question about entering a code for the waiting room. We looked at how to set up the waiting room from the settings, as well as, let's see, I'll go ahead and keep the breakout rooms open, but people can come back. If people are here, then you can kick them out to the waiting room when they're there. Now, if I were to remove Don from this meeting, then he wouldn't be able to log back onto the meeting. So be careful with the remove. That's kind of, it's called remove, but it's also called kick them out of the meeting and they can't come back. You put them in the waiting room if you have a reason to do that. Like, we're going to tell a secret and we don't want Chuck to know the secret. I'm going to put you in the waiting room, we say the secret, and then we invite him back in, something like that. Let's see, another question. You don't have and this was asked about 10 minutes ago, but if you don't have the button for the breakout rooms, we talked about that in the settings. You'll go to log on to your Zoom account, go settings, in the meetings tab, it's an advanced thing. You'll want to make sure that this is checked, blue, that it's toggled on, because that might be untoggled for some reason. I think by default it should be toggled on. Also, you might not be seeing it on this interface right here because you were all students and I'm the teacher, and so you're not going to see your own breakout rooms. But when you start your own session as the host, then you should be able to see that. Now, you can make other people co-hosts as well, or you can transfer the hosting capabilities. I think was Erica last session, we kind of tinkered with that, and I made you the host, but that took away my hosting capabilities, so she had to make me the host back. but I can make somebody a co-host, and that gives them a lot of the functionality, but it's still limited um, as opposed to the hosting. All right, any other questions? How do you create a background? That is going to require me to turn on my webcam, and I don't know what I look like. So I'm sorry, I wasn't talking this through. At the bottom left corner, you have the start video. So that's starting up your webcam. If you click on this chevron, the pop-up chevron, you have some more options. And so you have video settings right here. I'm going to choose virtual background, which I can do from the video settings, but I'm going to jump right to the virtual background. And I'm sharing my office with my son, and so you can see Star Wars, Death Star behind me. For the virtual backgrounds, you can import your own pictures. So here's a picture that I got from Parks and Rec, from the cartoon Up, from the cartoon Simpsons, from the TV show The Office, doing the talking heads. And you would click on this add button right here, and you can add an image. I can make it a slideshow or whatever. Ideally you would have some pictures that you would choose from. You can also do videos, but I'm going to say don't do videos. It's going to have a video looping in the background of the ocean or of whatever, and you really don't want to be distracting. If the video is not actually part of the presentation, then I would just eschew it altogether and choose something static. But you can also choose, you can go online and look for pictures. Let me. One good site is called unsplash.com, and you can look for pictures of office space. All of these pictures are not public domain, but they're cleared for copyright, and so that you can use these, you can modify them. If you want to give attribution, then you can. You can put yourself in a conference room, and so you would either download this picture, or I'm going to copy the image address. Maybe not that. That has some glass front. I'm going to look for maybe something white and pure. So I'm going to copy this address, or you can download it for free, the file size, and then upload it. All right, so I will hop back to choose my virtual background. For the plus button, I'm going to add an image, and for the file name, I'm just going to paste that link that I copied and open that, and there I have my background. Looks like it's not a great Zoom background, but you can also do a Google search for Zoom backgrounds. And I created a Canvas course on Zoom training. Let me put the link to this in the chat. It talks about just getting started, the interface. You can feel free to share this with your students if you would like. It has a few videos and pictures and animated pictures, but I also have a fun page on here on the What is Zoom section called Zoom Backgrounds. And these are just some backgrounds that I went online and curated. If you're interested, then you can download any of these. You just click on the image, right click, and you can save the image to your computer or copy the image address like I did for the other one. And if you have fun images, then feel free to share them and we can, have fun with that. So Don, I assume that that's an image of the blooming trees back there. I don't think that's something we'd see in April. I'm gonna look at the chat here. Sorry, I haven't been curating this. Am I the only one who can't see the screen that Sean is sharing? Hopefully, and I'm not sharing anything in Zoom. I'm sharing it in GoToWebinar. I'm sharing my whole screen right here, so hopefully you can see that. Oh, sheesh, we have a lot of chat coming in Zoom chat, and I very much apologize. I haven't been curating this. I don't know, Thad. It looks like you've been curating this, huh?
A little bit. There were some audio questions.
All right. Yeah, so yes, I'm sharing my screen on GoToWebinar, but not Zoom. And that's what's complicated. I would have run this in Zoom and not done any GoTo, is tempted, but when I share my screen, I can't share the interface, which is what I wanted to show down here. And so that's why I'm using GoTo, so that I can show you. Because as soon as I start sharing my screen, then all of the Zoom interface goes away, which it should, because you don't want students to see that. You want them to see a clean screen. Now, for those of you who haven't been to the other trainings, when I do share the screen, and you can share your screens as well if you want to practice this, you can share your, if you have 2 monitors or 3 monitors, you can choose which monitor to share. You can also share an iPhone or iPad. You can share individual applications if you have those. Advanced, you can share a portion of the screen, which you can draw a resizable rectangle box, and then you would only share the things within that box as opposed to the entire monitor. If you have multiple cameras set up, then you can share a different camera, or you can share music only. And one thing I'll mention, and this is an issue that I got a lot last month, was that GoToMeeting is not very good if you're going to share a video. If you have to play a YouTube video or something from your computer, the frame rate isn't good, the audio is horrible. In Zoom, you can go ahead and share the computer sound. You can optimize screen sharing for video clip. You can click on this. I think that I don't have that option right now because I'm just using too much. I'm on GoToWebinar at the same time as I'm using Zoom, and so I don't have that option. But normally you would be able to check that. And I don't know why I can't. You can also create a whiteboard. So I'll go ahead and share a whiteboard. And this is nothing fancy, but if you needed to diagram, do any kind of mind mapping exercises, then you would be able to have that whiteboard. So I can draw, I can create a new page, and I can create a triangle person. I don't know what I'm doing. So I have 2 pages of whiteboard drawing, and I can go ahead and I can save those if I wanted to. Any other questions about breakout rooms, meetings, or let me just hop back over to the GoToWebinar and see the questions that we have here. Do students automatically have access to the Canvas training? If you're talking about this Canvas course that I did, everybody has access to this. You don't have to be enrolled. It's a public course, so you can even share this with your neighbors and family and enemies and people from other institutions. Anybody has access to this because it's an open course. You don't even have to log into Canvas in order to see this. And I'm going to be building this out with more pages. This is a bare bones, but it's a way for us to get started, I would say. So no, students don't have to be. One question is, are you drawing on the whiteboard with a mouse? I am. I was. So I went and shared my screen. I chose the whiteboard option, and there's a pen right there, and I was just drawing. I was just drawing with my mouse. If you have a tablet, not like an iPad, but an actual computer tablet, which is a board with a pen that you write on, artists use it sometimes. Maybe they don't use it anymore since iPads are out. Then you'd be able to draw with a pen tool. But yeah, this is just me with a mouse. That's why it looks horrible. There are other sketch tools that are better. Feel free to email me if that's important to you, and I can refer you to those. And I think it would probably be better to maybe share your screen and use a different platform, but this is convenient, so I'll give them that. All right, any other questions about Zoom in general, breakout rooms or Zoom? Looks like a lot of people are still in the rooms. go ahead and close the rooms. Bring you all back. So when I closed the rooms, I got a message here that says all participants have been given 60 seconds to leave their breakout rooms. And so we'll be coming back in, and I'll see these green circles disappearing as people are coming back to the main session. Anything else that anybody wants to go over? You can chat with me also via GoToWebinar. Just let me know in GoToWebinar if you'd like to be unmuted, and we can chat, because I've muted everybody in Zoom, and we're getting a few. Are we able to put the link to the Canvas course? The link is in GoToWebinar, but I'll put it here in Zoom chat as well. GoToWebinar is freezing, so so Rosalie had to pick one or the other, and that's a limitation. That this isn't something that we're going to have to deal with a lot, I don't think, just because you don't tend to run two different video conferencing platforms at the same time. It's really a bad idea, but as we're doing these trainings, these live trainings, it really seemed like the solution. Otherwise, I can't really share my interface with people. So I apologize for that, but they've been holding up so well. We've had a lot of problems in the past month, and luckily we're doing okay. I'm gonna put Michael. Michael left us, and so I don't think he was aware that Zoom was still running. Any other questions, concerns, or any comments? They're so nice sharing your video. I'll go ahead and share my video as well. I'm here. I'm still sharing some funny background. Conference bingo. How about that? Is Karen on the line? Can you guys hear me? I'm sorry, go ahead. See if you can get a bingo here. All right, well, if there's no other questions coming in, I want to thank you all for joining me. And if you have other Zoom questions, feel free to reach out to me or help desk IT. If they're technical questions, like how to log on, how to get your account set up. Obviously, nobody on this call who's on Zoom, you're not having trouble with your accounts, but refer students to the IT help desk. Otherwise, if you have questions about specific features, you can reach out to me if you'd like. And yeah, thank you all for joining. I won't hold you
Sean,
longer. Yeah.
real quick. Heather has a quick question. She asked in GoToMeeting and also in the Zoom group chat. Do you see there? Can you host and have breakout rooms with a free Zoom account?
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. I didn't see that question. It was lost in there. Breakout rooms with a free Zoom account. Probably. As far as I know, the limitations to the free account are that the meetings end at 40 minutes and you have a limited number of participants. We have the enterprise account, a paid version, so we can have 300 people on the call, and we can have unlimited meeting times. You know, if we need to meet for 2 hours painfully, then that's an option for us. As far as I know, I don't think that breakout rooms is a free or premium feature. I think it's just available. But that said, if you're part of TCS education system, which is Pacific Oak, Chicago School, Saybrook, DNI, Colleges of Law, any of our affiliates, then you have access to the premium version of Zoom. And so if you're still on a free account, reach out to IT and they'll upgrade you to the good account, and you'll have all kinds of options. That background's kind of bothering. Let's go for something classy. I'll pretend like I'm not in a bedroom with Star Wars pictures everywhere. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'll go ahead and log out of Zoom and meeting for all. And I'll see you at our next webinar. Thanks again.